Welcome inside TD Garden, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined by Josue Pavon of WEEI.com, covering the Celtics. Josue, this was a trap game. I know you wrote about it on WEEI.com on the Green Street blog. Celtics win it 104-97, but it was anything but pretty. The Celtics blew a couple of 11-point leads in the second half and had to hang on for dear life as they went on a 10-2 run in the final 90 seconds of this ball game to hang on and record their 46th win. It was an important win, Josue, because the Celtics at 46-32 now tied with Atlanta for third place in the Eastern Conference.
Absolutely, and this was the definition of a trap game, Mike. I mean, you talk about a team that's coming off a huge win, the biggest win of the season at Golden State. They knock out the Lakers. They have a couple days off coming back from their 5-game road trip. And you play a team like the New Orleans Pelicans, a team that were without their key guys, without guys that have been in the rotation the entire season. And the Celtics were able to luckily crawl out because, like you said, this is a very important win. You want to stay in that race. You want to try to grab that third seed. So this was a sort of a must-win playing against a team like the New Orleans Pelicans.
This was a team just 24 hours earlier, Josue, that was blown out by the Philadelphia 76ers, lost by 14 points down in Philly, and still they managed to hang around. I think, there were a couple of moments that stood out to me, Josue, in that second half, especially when New Orleans made one of their runs. It was Luke Babbitt right behind you, hitting a three in front of Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens, before Babbitt could get the shot up, turned his back on it and shook his head in disgust. Now, Babbitt missed that shot, missed that three-pointer, but still, it came just after, a couple minutes after the Celtics, after a timeout, allowed an open three to Babbitt. Point being, Celtics have to play better closeout defense. Yes, they were coming off a road trip, actually a successful road trip, but they've got to be better defending the three than they were tonight.
Absolutely, and that's someone that can knock down those shots, so they caught a break there. But another thing I noticed, immediately after that, in came in Isaiah Thomas, who I thought the New Orleans Pelicans didn't necessarily have an answer for him in terms of him driving to the hoop. I feel like he was able to get to the hoop when he wanted to. He got there, scoring 32 points. He got to the free throw line as well. So I feel like that was a huge part of this win, a huge part of the game. But I agree with you 100%. They have to be able to close out defending the three-point, and they have to close out these games because they can't let the Pelicans hang around. Imagine if this was another team.
Right.
Celtics may have lost one tonight if it wasn't the New Orleans Pelicans.
Now, let's talk about the guy that they didn't have, Evan Turner. I had a chance to ask Brad Stevens after this game about, does this maybe show us why Evan Turner is so important? And he said, we've known all along how important Evan Turner is. Before the game, Brad Stevens said that he would be cleared for Thursday activity, very light non-contact activity with the team as he is recovering from his left eye abrasion suffered Sunday night in the win over the Lakers. But maybe he returns. There's a chance, Brad Stevens said, he returns on Friday against the Milwaukee Bucks. But tonight what you saw was a bench trying to kind of find their way, certainly offensively, without Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas score sheets shows that he scored 32 points on 10 of 19 shooting. But the rest of the starting lineup, Josue, couldn't get anything done. And I think some of this was the Evan Turner effect.
I agree. Evan Turner was huge throughout that entire West Coast trip. He was the most consistent guy next to Isaiah Thomas. He was a guy that you could rely on, in the second half. So I think that played a role tonight. But like you said, there were a few guys like Avery Bradley, like Jay Crowder. Sure, Avery Bradley hit the huge three at the end of the game, but he missed a few. Jay Crowder had a couple open three-pointers that he missed in the last couple of minutes of this game. So that played a role as well. So yeah, clearly Evan Turner is very valuable to this team and someone that you need at the end of games. But I think tonight was a good night for the rest of the team, for the rest of the bench, for guys like Kelly Olynyk, for guys like, Terry Rozier, someone who's cracked into this rotation, to build some confidence going into the final stretch of the season and heading into the playoffs. So I think this was a night where you sort of, as much as he wanted to play, Coach Stevens talked about how he was, wasn't necessarily the happiest guy, that the fact that he had to sit out of this one. But I feel like this was the type of game where you needed him to sit out a bit. You have to be cautious with his eye, of course. And you also don't want to, you want to build more confidence for your bench, like you said. Right. And this was the type of team that you wanted to do it against.
Evan Turner texting Brad Stevens earlier in the week saying that isn't there a way that you can play me and keep my streak of active games going in the NBA? Now, officially, according to Elias Josue, it's 212 games because when he was traded to the Celtics, he sat out that first game. So that was the last game he did not play in when he was eligible to play. But if you include injury, games missed because of injury, it's 375 games Evan Turner had played in consecutively before injury forced him to sit out here on Wednesday night. A win over the New Orleans Pelicans by a score of 104-97. Let's set the stage for the next two games. They are big ones. Milwaukee Bucks here on TD Garden on Friday night. And that is followed up by a back-to-back in Atlanta on Saturday night. That's really going to, I think those two games, Josue, are going to determine really where if the Celtics have a legitimate shot of finishing third.
And those are two teams that are not going to be easy. You have the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that has beaten the Celtics in the past, and you have the Atlanta Hawks, who of course are in the way in terms of the seeding. So yeah, those are two big games. So setting the stage, I think you're going to need guys like Evan Turner. So I think I can confidently say he'll probably be in the lineup. He'll be in the mix. Jay Crowder has had a huge game since he came back from his injury. So I think that he's another guy who's going to get his groove back. And I think the Celtics have a good chance of winning both of those games. I do believe that. Is there a chance that they'll lose at least one of them? Certainly, but I think that if you're not able to beat those two teams, I think you can kiss the third seed goodbye, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but you want to grab that third seed. How the playoff brackets are set up, it's a very important difference between the third seed and the fourth.
Celtics, at the very least, Josue, they've got to go 3-1 in these final four games. But I think realistically, to wrap up a number 3 seed, they got to win all 4 games, and we'll see how that turns out. Marcus Smart did suffer 4 stitches above the right eye. He will not need to play goggles. He'll play on Friday against the Milwaukee Bucks. Evan Turner might need goggles, and we're hoping that he plays as well on Friday night. But the final, again, is the Celtics are led by Isaiah Thomas, 32 points. They hold off the New Orleans Pelicans 104-97, improving to 46-32. For Josue Pavon, I'm Mike Petraglia, inside TD Garden, WEEI.com.